I gotta follow that. I have to follow this gorgeous. Thank you, Alicia. That was amazing. Oh, wow. Woo! Wow. Oh, my God. I forgot to introduce myself at the top of the service. My name is Reverend Dale, and it is always an honor and a privilege and a joy for me to stand here and talk with you and to you, because this is my joy, being in this energy field that you bring, this consciousness. So I'd like to start with a question for all of you today. How many of you would call yourselves a spiritual seeker? Raising your hands. So you call yourself a spiritual seeker. Yeah, I used to be like you too. I used to call myself a spiritual seeker because there was something inside of me that wouldn't let go of me. And I didn't know what it was trying to tell me, but boy, was it there. It was telling me there was something missing from my life that couldn't be found in this outside world, that there was something missing in my heart, and I didn't know what it was. There was something I was just looking for through different religions, through different philosophies, and I just couldn't find it. And then I came here, and I found it. And I wasn't a seeker anymore because I found what I was looking for, as you two would say. And what was really cool for me, as I speak about this journey of finding what I was looking for, is I really didn't know what it was specifically until I came into the science of mind, and it was like, wow, I didn't even realize that there's 3 things that I was looking for in my life that were spiritually fulfilling to me. And the first one about science of mind is that it's all about the mind. It's all about the power of the mind, to utilize the mind, to harness it for the betterment and the improvement of our lives, to examine our beliefs and see what beliefs are not working for us anymore and change them so that we're living in a place where we have life-affirming beliefs, where we're positive, where we know the power that we have to create our lives. And the second thing is this rich philosophy, this spiritual philosophy that we teach here, that God is everything, and God is within all of us, and that there is this amazing spiritual law, the law of cause and effect, that is operating everything in life, from the cosmos to our bodies to everything, and that our lives are an outpicturing of how we utilize that law. So you can utilize it in a way where you bring great good into your life or not so much. But the one thing that this philosophy brings to my heart and soul is its healing capacity. And I don't think we talk about it enough up here, because this philosophy heals lives. And I'm here to tell you it healed my life, and it continues to do so. And that's why my talk title is called The Healing Field. Because we are always in a healing field. It doesn't go away. It's right where we are. That healing energy of spirit that we all are is present at every moment of every day. But sometimes we forget about that. And for me, in my life, as I was coming into being an adult, I totally didn't see the healing presence inside of me, because I was so focused on the pain. I was so focused on the scars inside of me. I could not see that there's a healing field that I'm living in, and that there was healing power inside of me. But this place, this philosophy teaches us that right where we are is healing potential. And when we can stop focusing on the anguish and the sorrow and the mistakes and the wrong directions that we've taken in life, when we can stop identifying with that and see that right here is a possibility to heal everything and anything in our lives. My next slide is this. So to heal means to become whole or sound, to mend, to get well. Because sometimes in life, we get unwell. We get sideways with the core of our being, with that source of life that I call God, Spirit, infinite intelligence, the energizing energy that is everywhere present, within and around us. When we lose sight of that, we get out of alignment with that source energy, and we find that we're in need of healing, to bring it all back, to become whole again. And we're always whole. We're always whole. But our mind, and sometimes our emotions and our heart, take us out of that truth of remembering that wholeness is right where we are. So this is the journey, and this is what Science Mind gives to us, this huge gift of this healing field that is here for us. And so my next slide is a quote by Ernest Holmes, and he talks a lot about healing, as you might imagine. And he says this: "A realization of the presence of God is the most powerful healing agency known to the mind of man." And I know for me, when I came to this center and I saw quotes like this, it didn't make sense to me at all. I couldn't understand how realizing that God is present, how that could heal anything for me at all, because my idea of God was just so like the old school, like God was here and I'm being punished for this and that. And I didn't realize, I never thought that God is healing, and realizing that God is right where I am can heal everything within my spirit. So what Ernest Holmes was trying to teach us is that when you're identifying with this bigger part of you, this bigger aspect of you, this aspect of you that is absolutely pure, that is absolutely beautiful and joyful and lovely, and just this amazing energy of life that we all are, when we identify with that, healing happens. Because what I used to do, I used to identify myself as less than, or I'll never measure up, or I can't do that, and I'm not enough, and all that negative self-talk. That's what I was identifying with. And then my energy was mirroring that. I shrank. I saw myself as just being not worthy of being in this world, because I didn't know God is right where I am. And so when we can start turning away from the old beliefs of who we thought we were, from our parents, from our peers, from our teachers, anything that wasn't really reflective of the amazing possibility that we all are and that we all have inside of ourselves. When we start identifying with that, our body starts lifting up. It starts pulsating with an energy of life, of vibrancy, of aliveness, of the allness, of the fullness of life that we are. When we know that we are this spiritual energy, that we are the presence of God. And that's what we teach here. And I know sometimes that's a gap. Sometimes it's hard to get from that to God. But I always teach people, find a word that means a bigger essence of you. Call it spirit, call it love, call it nature. Find it, because we all have a word. And once we start resonating with that word and feeling that word, things shift inside of ourselves, because we're activating something that is very natural to us. Very natural. It is everything that we are. I know when I came here and I would sit in the back there and I'd hear these things, and there was that part of me, the part of me that was conditioned mind, the part of me that was thinking I'm what I was brought up to be, that started to argue with this truth. But when you're in that truth, it is so loud. And when you start saying, even giving it a moment of listening to it, it starts to grow and it starts to expand, because it's nestled inside of us. And when we see it and recognize it, it can't help but burst through and come forward and express in all areas of our lives, in our consciousness. And that's a healing. That's a healing. So I have a quote. My next quote is Dr. Sue Morter, and I bring her up here today because Ernest Holmes wrote, like the Science of Mind was published like in the early 1900s, 1930s. And Sue Morter, Dr. Sue Morter, is a present day, she's a healer, basically. She wrote the energy codes. And I was reading her book yesterday, and it was like she is saying what Ernest Holmes says. And she says this: spirit is the healing force in our life. That is because healing happens when the energy being, which is who we are, the real us, becomes activated in all of its circuitry. The energy being or spirit is the healer within. That's it. And I know that there's so many different healing modalities. There's medicine, there's acupuncture, there's energy healers. There's so many ways to open ourselves up to the healing energy that is within us. But what I know, what Ernest Holmes taught, what Dr. Sue Morter is saying, is we got to activate that spiritual essence of who we are, the real us. That's really who we are. When we activate that and let it out to play, the healing happens on every level: physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. We are firing because our circuits are opening up and our energy can flow. When David and I do our soul immersion on Friday nights, we talk about all these chakras, right? That's your energy centers. And what one of our intentions is to open up your energy centers. Because if they're clogged at all, your energy's not flowing. And we are divinely designed to have our energy flowing throughout our body, no stoppages at all. But yes, life happens, and we shut down. And our energy centers shut down, depending on your experiences that were injurious to you. But the thing is to come back into the flow of your energy, the flow of the divine essence of you, to allow it to flow freely throughout your beingness, because then you're living your best life, because you're present in the moment. You're completely in tune with everything. That is the healing. My next slide is this. We need to expand our capacity to live, to embody and experience wholeness. I love the idea of wholeness. And there's something inside of ourselves that knows what that means for us. It means something different to everybody. But wholeness, seeing yourself, feeling yourself as whole, as alive, where everything is working perfectly. Do you love it when everything's working perfectly, right? Who doesn't, right? I love it when everything's working perfectly. And there's something in my being, in my body, when it is all working perfectly. And let me just say this. It doesn't necessarily mean that this outer world is working perfectly. That's not how I gauge wholeness. I gauge wholeness in my inner wholeness. That wholeness of being where I am present in my life, where I'm mindful, where I'm healthy and well, where I have plenty of everything that allows me to thrive in the world. That's my sense of wholeness, and I know it comes from consciousness. That's where it starts. And so the healing comes from bringing the wholeness back together again after we've had a ruptured life. And I will tell you, as I stand here on this stage, as there are so many people in here that I've worked with and that I know that have had the healing that began by remembering the spiritual essence of who they are, by remembering that the energy of spirit is right here working through us, as us, if we only let it do its work as us. Thank you. Amen. There's a healing. So here's the interesting thing about healing. I've got to just say this. Some of you know who Dr. Jim Lockhart. Anybody know who Dr. Jim Lockhart is? He's a wonderful. He was in CSL, real high level, amazing consciousness, and I had the privilege to take a workshop from him at least 15 years ago. And he's really into Carl Jung and doing shadow work and stuff like that. And he said something that has never left my mind. And he said that the universe is always pulling us towards healing, always. And I love that because I've seen that happen in myself. But what I will say is sometimes that healing doesn't look so fun, doesn't look very delightful. And that's why healing is something to open up to how it is unfolding. And so my quote, actually this is something I just wrote, there's a part of us that yearns to heal all the old injuries so that we can be free. Because those old injuries, they stay stuck unless we fully process them. And a lot of us have those old injuries that we've kind of like just stuck back there. And when they stick back there, they're still having a part in our life. So the universe does this by attracting situations to us that provide us with an opportunity to heal the old wounds. And sometimes that's not very comfortable. But if we can live a mindful life and see what we're walking into, it gives us an opportunity to look at something with fresh eyes. And I happened to have one of those healing opportunities last week. Would you please put up my next slide for the visual of it? Yeah, I had one of those. That was fun. So a girlfriend of mine called me up, and I've known her for such a long time, so we know each other's histories and everything like that. And she just started getting in on me. She just was hammering me. And I was just like, what is going on here? And I knew she was having a lot of stress in her life, but she was unrelenting. She was just attacking me. And so I took a step back and I thought, wow, what's going on with her? And she kept going and kept going. And then I got triggered. I became the 5-year-old in my mind that's mother used to come out of nowhere and be very angry and attacking. And so she's triggered in her stuff with her wounds. I'm triggered with my stuff and my wounds. Our wounds are talking to each other. And I don't know where we are. Neither of us is in the present moment at all because our wounds are just having the conversation. And I told her after a while, after I just was kind of like done with being bloodied and bantered, I said, you know what, I gotta go. And so I hung up and I just said, wow, what is going on with me? Now, I had a choice at that time. I could have continued getting upset and angry. I could have blamed her and called her back and said, how dare you, da-da-da-da. I mean, I could have stoked that fire big and high. But I chose not to because I'm a minister. And we don't do that sort of thing. We got to be mindful. We got to do our inner work, right? I tease you. I love doing. This is why I love being a minister, is because we do that. And so I went within and I said, wow, that reminded me of something really old inside of me. That felt like 19 whatever when mom was at her best. And so I went through it and I thought about it and I go, yeah, that's that thing again. And I've done a lot of work around it and it still bubbles up every now and then. But I got to a place of peace within myself because it wasn't about my friend anymore. It was about what it brought up for me. And I had the courage to look. That's what it does take courage. I had the courage to look because I knew I was safe. I knew it was an old memory, and I knew I could deal with whatever I needed to deal with. So I did my thing, and I got back to center, and I called my friend up, and I said, you know, it really bothered me that you attacked me like that. What's going on with you? And she told me, and we cleared the air between ourselves, and we became into the present moment, because we were living in history in that phone conversation. But we were able to see what was going on, and we put ourselves in the now moment. And we were able to see each other for who we are, this wonderful friendship that's been around so long. We were able to land in a place of love and respect for each other. And this situation reminds me so much of what's going on in our world right now. I think this is exactly what is going on in our world. We are all living in this unconscious, old, injurious energy, all of the wounds, and we're projecting onto each other this stuff that doesn't belong to anybody, because we're just living in the old patterns and the old hurts. And that's what's creating such a discordant world. That's it. If we do our own work, I'm not saying we got to change everybody out here because that's not where it's at. We got to change ourselves and look at our wounds. And when we're coming at people and it's just that old stuff coming at somebody that doesn't belong to them, the healing is within ourselves. And I think the more of us that do this inner work, that are willing to see the wounds that are still operating and heal them, that brings us into our world with clarity, with greater energy, with love and compassion. Because when we clean this up on the inside, we're so much more clear in our interactions with others. We're able to hold people when they're having a bad day. We're able to have compassion. We're able to say, oh my God, I didn't realize that you had that in your past. I am so sorry. Now it makes sense why you treat people like that. It really is important for us individually and collectively. And my next slide is this. So it may seem to you that the mind is where this healing takes place, or that the mind can help us to heal. And I will tell you, it can to an extent. This is a quote from Michael Singer from The Untethered Soul. He says, all you have to do is stop expecting the mind to fix what's wrong inside of you. Because I don't think it's the mind's duty to do that. I do not think it's its job. Its job can give us clarity, like I just told you about in my example. The mind helped me to go back and see what was going on with me, but it's not what fixed me. That's not what did the healing. Not at all. This is what does the healing. As Ernest Holmes would say, my next slide. Thank you. He says, love is the greatest is the grandest healing and drawing power on earth. You know, we talk about the heart a lot here, and there's a reason why we talk about the heart a lot, because that's where all the healing is happening. What happened to me growing up is I built a big old wall around my heart because of my experiences. And I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to share this heart. I wanted to just sit behind a wall so I didn't have to feel or feel vulnerable or to have to risk injury again to it. And so I built the wall up to protect it. And a lot of us do that. We protect ourselves because we've been hurt so badly in life. That happens. I am not going to spiritually bypass it at all. That hurt happens in life. But we live in a healing field. We live in a healing field, and the heart is the key to that healing. When we can come to a place and understand what has hurt our hearts, and to realize the resiliency of that heart, to say, yes, I've had my stuff in life, but my heart was born to love. Our hearts were born to love. Our hearts were born to connect with others, not to sit behind a wall. That's not life. That's not living at all. Living is connecting. Living is being in your heart space and being comfortable in it and saying, I can love everybody, because my heart is strong and I've done my inner work, and there is no risk anymore for me to stand here and be with you in love, with an open mind and open heart, and just bring us all together in what I know is true. What I know is true is oneness is real. That's what I know is true. Oneness is very real. And we start allowing ourselves to really be one with all and to stop separating ourselves and otherizing people and having enemies in life. When we lay that down and understand that we've all had different life experiences that have led us to this point, and some have been really rough, and some people don't even have the tools to get to the place where they can heal this beautiful heart. And so we can do that, because we are here, and we're open and receptive to the message that Ernest Holmes gave to us, the power of the heart and love to heal. That's it. It's that simple. I mean, it really is. It's that simple, yet the pathway to the heart can seem very tricky, but it isn't. Our minds are telling us it is, because the mind is trying to protect. But we can give that job to the heart. That is not the mind's job to heal. This is open and receptive and ready to heal it all, And my last slide, I believe, is back to the healing field. So our center's been through some really interesting transformations. And what an honor it is for me to stand here today and feel the healing. Today, I really felt it in a big way. I'm feeling the energy rising up for us to keep going, to find the center of you as your beautiful heart. Because the healings that have happened in this room, that are happening with our spiritual community right now, we are wired to heal. And we can do this. And we are doing this. We're doing it individually and we're doing it collectively. And so I just want to tell you, before I get off this stage, I just want to tell you how loved you are. And I don't want you ever to forget that, ever. Please know how loved you are. And please know, no matter what you've been through in your life, the healing field wants you to play in it. It wants you to open up to it. It is wide, it is free, and the tools are there for you to utilize in your life to heal your heart and to be able to live your greatest life ever and to have goodness overflowing in all areas of your life. So join me in that field. It is there, always. And I just want to thank you for listening to me today. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.